evening. Welcome to News 360 on TV3, also live on DSTV channel 271. My name is Grace Hamwajuman.
And I am Martin Asiedu Data. These are the headlines for the next 1 hour.
News 360 headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
Constitution Review Committee proposes a 5-year presidential term to allow governments more time to govern effectively.
Also tonight, Attorney General and Minister of Justice to file fresh charges against embattled Ashanti Regional Chair of the NPP, Bernard Nchibwesiako, over possible cause of financial loss to the state amounting to 24 million cedis.
Later in business news that will come your way in a few minutes, Government of the Central Bank observes the passage of the Bank of Ghana Amendment Bill by Parliament will prevent another domestic debt exchange program.
And later in international news, Nigerian authorities secure release of the remaining 130 school children and teachers kidnapped from a Catholic boarding school in the country's central Niger State.
We have details of all these stories and more, including business, sports, and entertainment all lined up. Let's stay.
Let's begin the bulletin from here. The Constitution Review Committee has proposed a 1-year extension of Ghana's presidential term, recommending a shift from the current 4-year tenure to a 5-year term to allow governments more time to govern effectively. Presenting the committee's report to President John Mahama on Monday, December 22, Chairman of the committee, Professor Henry Kwesi Prempeh, clarified that the proposal does not include a third-term option for presidents.
The committee had been gathering national feedback on proposed changes to several parts of Ghana's 1992 constitution for months. With the powers of the Attorney General, Professor Kwesi Prempeh said the committee wants the powers of the Attorney General reviewed and some taken away and given to an ethics commission to handle cases of corruption. In the view of the committee, it is to give the Attorney General free hands to do international arbitration in big constitutional cases. President Mahama and the NDC have come under intense criticism lately for a third-term agenda, especially from the main opposition MPP. The committee in its work says Ghanaians did not favor a third-term bid.
Yeah, we couldn't find a place for a third term for the president. So you know, we looked and looked and looked. We couldn't find. I mean, we realized that the president himself doesn't like it. You know, nobody really seems to like it. There wasn't much of a demand for it at all. The only thing about that was the invitation for us to clarify ambiguity, and we didn't even want to go there. We didn't think that 66.2 raised any issues in terms of ambiguity, so we kept it the way it is. However, we believe we took to heart the recommendations that we got from many of the eminent persons that we met, including some who have occupied your seat, that the 4-year term was short. It was too short. And we also then learned that the emerging global norm was 5. And that even in the region, we in Nigeria have the lowest. I mean, 4 is pretty low. So we're proposing an extension by 1 more year.
The president thanked the committee for their work done, assuring them of implementation of the recommendations.
We're moving from the constitutional review process into the implementation process. And so early next year, we would announce an implementation committee. And of course, we're going to call some of you to come and serve on that committee because we need that institutional memory transferred into the implementation.
Now, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, has announced that the state will prosecute Wontumi Farms and its directors for alleged financial crimes involving the Ghana Export-Import Bank. Addressing journalists at the Accountability Series, Dr. Ayine said investigations conducted by the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, have uncovered sufficient evidence to support charges of defrauding by false pretense, forgery, and causing financial loss to the state.
Our investigations established that Chairman Wontumi had approached Kasama Enterprise, an industrial equipment dealer, and obtained an invoice with a promise to return to purchase the said equipment. He never went back to purchase the equipment. Instead, and this is where the criminal enterprise began, he forged the invoice he obtained from Kasama Enterprise by removing the word invoice and replacing it with receipt. This forged receipt was then submitted to Exim Bank as proof that he had purchased the equipment after the disbursement of the loan facility. Investigations established that Chairman Wontumi did not purchase any equipment and as such could not register any equipment in the joint names of Exim Bank and Wontumi Farms Limited as per the loan conditions, even though funds were disbursed to him to that effect, a contract, but constitute acts of criminality by no means a person than the regional chairman of the then ruling party. In the circumstances, and the face of the evidence we have gathered in this investigation, thoroughly conducted by the Economic and Organized Crime Office, we have made the decision to prosecute Wontumi Farms and its directors with defrauding by false pretenses, forgery, and causing financial loss to the state in the sum of 24,255,735 Ghana cedis.
Meanwhile, the Attorney General, Dr. Dominic Ayine, announced that the leader of the Liberal Party of Ghana, Percival Kofi Akpaloo, will be charged with alleged forgery and related offences. This follows investigations into alleged financial impropriety involving a cocoa board feeder routes contract.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the case involving Mr. Percival Akpaloo of the Liberal Party of Ghana, the Financial Intelligence Center flagged and filed a suspicious transaction report with First Bank Ghana Limited regarding transactions on an account belonging to Poma Universal Ghana Limited. That is a company owned by the said Kofi Akpaloo. Following the STR, that is a suspicious transaction report by the FIC, the Economic and Organized Crime began an investigation into the matter. Ekua Poma also alleged that Akpaloo forged her signature on the cocoa board contract using her former name, Mercy Owusu, to secure the agreement without her authorization. First Bank Ghana Limited conducted an internal investigations and corroborated the fraud allegations that we have made, concluding that Akpaloo knowingly misrepresented ownership of the checks and deposited them into the wrong account. The bank acknowledged operational failures in detecting the discrepancies between the check payee names and the account numbers. The suspects who have been investigated are Percival Kofi Akpaloo, Poma Ghana Limited, the Poma with the H, and Delvin Akpaloo, his wife. That is the spouse of Kofi Akpaloo. The evidence shows that they engage in various criminal offenses, including stealing, forgery, and money laundering. And they will be charged by my office, again, as I said, upon resumption of work after the Christmas holidays.
We stay on legal matters, but this time around we're going specifically to the courts, and the Accra High Court has varied the bail terms of former National Petroleum Authority Chief Executive Officer Mustafa Abdul Hamid and 9 others. Per the previous bail condition, Dr. Mustafa Hamid, who was the first accused, Jacob Kwamena, second accused, and Wendy Newman, the third accused, were to report to the registrar of the court, while the remaining were to report to the registry. Lord Eduasare was in court and reports.
The former National Petroleum Authority CEO, Mustafa Abdulhamid, and the 9 other accused persons are standing trial for multiple offences, including extortion, abuse of public office, and money laundering. They have pleaded not guilty and are on a 2 million Ghana cedi bail each with 3 sureties. In court on Monday, December 22, lawyers for the former National Petroleum Authority CEO were expecting to move a motion to strike out the charges against their client, having served the other accused persons with the application. But before they could proceed, Presiding Judge Justice Audrey Kokuvite indicated that there was an application to vary the bail conditions filed by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, as well as an affidavit in opposition to the application to strike out the charge. Counsel for Mustafa Hamid, Joseph Penka, as well as the lawyers for the other 9 accused persons all opposed the grant of variation of bail conditions. In exercising her discretion, however, Justice Kokuvite granted the variation of bail application and subsequently ordered all the accused persons to report to the investigators, which is the Office of the Special Prosecutor, every Tuesday until the final determination of the matter in court. Lawyer Joseph Kemka for Mustafa Abdulhamid then prayed for leave of the court to enable them file their written submissions with regards to the application to strike out the charges against his client, after noting that the grounds of his application were found in law. Principal Prosecutor Adelaide Kubri Wood with the OSP also prayed the court for leave to file their written submissions. Lawyers for the 9 accused persons also made similar prayers to file their affidavits. The case has since been adjourned to January 14, 2026 for continuation. Lord Udasari, TV3 News, Accra.
Well, let's move from the court and go to the Electricity Company of Ghana, because tension is mounting among more than 8,000 workers of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, over government plans to appoint a transaction advisor to manage the retail collection of electricity bills. Speaking exclusively to our Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku in Accra, the General Secretary of POO, Timothy Nyame, expressed deep concern over the development.
Earlier this year, government stepped back from direct interference in the operations of ECG, a move that allowed management and workers to improve revenue mobilization and reduce system losses. As a result, ECG losses dropped from 27% to 24%, while revenue increased significantly from 1.4 billion cedis to 1.75 billion cedis. Finance Minister Dr. Kezato Forsen presented the 2026 budget statement and economic policy to Parliament on Thursday, November 13, announced that there has been a significant improvement in the Electricity Company of Ghana's revenue. He explained that revenues have risen by almost 90%, from 900 million cedis to 1.7 billion per month, due to better enforcement of cash waterfall mechanism. However, the Public Utilities Workers Union says it is surprised by reports that the government is now considering the appointment of a transaction advisor to take control of revenue collection. According to POO, the proposed arrangement threatens the progress so far made and could destabilize the company. General Secretary of POO, Timothy Nyame, has therefore kicked against the move, urging government to reconsider the decision in the interest of industrial harmony.
The enthusiasm to which the workers started work across the nation, I tell you, there are committees in place from the national to the regional to the district level where everybody is working. We have this situation where we monitor operations, that at anywhere there's a problem, we quickly run to the place to make sure that we fix things. Now, these are the workers who have geared up and they are working, making sure that there's power should be stable throughout this unit time. For them to hear that you are bringing a transitional advisor, we don't even know what the person is coming to do.
He cautioned that failure to halt the appointment could disrupt the current peaceful industrial climate at ECG.
The workers of ECG will resist any attempt by any individual or group of individuals to try to come and annex any part of ECG for their own in the name of private sector participation. There's private sector participation already in place in ECG. So why do you need somebody to come and operate in the retail end and collect the money for what?
Still on labor-related matters, 3 affiliate unions of the Trades Union Congress say the 2025 labor front has been overshadowed by rising utility tariffs despite a 9% salary increment announced earlier in the year. The Teachers and Education Workers Union, the Health Services Workers Union, and the Construction and Building Material Workers Union described 2025 as a difficult year for workers, arguing that the recent tariff increase will wipe out the gains made from the salary adjustment.
According to the unions, while some progress was recorded in the conclusion of conditions of service negotiations and the rollout of government's big push infrastructure agenda, the cost of living pressures have dampened worker morale. Union leaders say the announcement of higher utility tariffs significantly eroded workers' confidence, stressing that the 9% salary increment has been rendered meaningless by rising electricity and water costs. Speaking to our Labour Affairs correspondent Daniel Opoku, General Secretary of the Teachers and Education Workers Union, King James Azotiba, said the situation has left many workers frustrated and disillusioned. He acknowledged that government addressed some long-standing grievances and the signing of their conditions of service, but insisted the impact of tariff hikes have fueled anger among workers.
Our 4 major conditions of service that have been pending, we can say that we have got 3.5 over 4, and we are hoping to get 4 over 4 before the end of the year. And so for me and the Teachers and Educational Workers Union, we can say it had our struggles has paid off. Coming to the front, yes, we also know the other challenge of labor is our base pay and minimum wage of 9% that we got for the negotiation, which every Ghanaian worker is not happy.
Meanwhile, the Deputy General Secretary of the Health Services Workers Union, Patricia Trineboa, expressed concern that many health workers were shortchanged in 2025. She warned that organized labor, particularly health sector workers, may not be able to guarantee industrial peace going to 2026 if economic pressures persist.
During the year, the labor front has been very calm, cordial, because we realize that we are dealing with a new government, and we also believe in social dialogue. And I believe because we concentrated much on social dialogue, that has also helped the labor front.
In a related development, General Secretary of the Construction and Building Materials Workers Union, Richard Asamoah, highlighted challenges facing contractors, citing persistent delays in the payment of contract sums. He noted that the payment delays have affected project delivery and the livelihoods of workers within the construction sector.
The thing I saw also about 2025 was about the payment of contractors, and I keep on saying this. You see, at one time we had the opportunity to meet the finance minister, and he made it clear that he had paid contractors. At another point, the contractors were also saying, no, we've not been paid. And this is something we at times don't understand as to why there's this hula baloo. And we are saying that with a big push which has also come, we believe that government will see to it that jobs are speed up.
And to a rather sad development in the Ashanti region, a tragic fire outbreak has claimed the lives of 6 people at Iwakwa Menchia in the Ashanti region. The incident occurred around midnight on Sunday, leaving the community in shock and mourning.
Behind me is the apartment where a family of 6, including a 5-year-old child and a 3-month-old baby, lost their lives in a fire outbreak. The inferno is said to have spread rapidly, leaving the victims trapped with no chance of escape. Residents who rushed to the scene in an attempt to rescue the victims were overwhelmed by the intensity of the flames, making it impossible to access the building. Personnel from the Ghana National Service were later called in to manage the situation and eventually brought the fire under control. Unfortunately, all occupants were confirmed dead, after the fire was extinguished. The light went off yesterday around 6:30 in the evening. We later went to bed. At when power was restored around midnight, we heard desperate shout for help. We rushed out of our rooms only to realize that the house was already engulfed in flames. We immediately ran out for our safety. After firefighters arrived and managed to extinguish the fire, we realized that Kesua and her family had been trapped inside the house and burnt to death.
Yes, sister, no. Ene ni sister baako e kan woni pensia no ma yenya media.
The cause of the fire remains unknown, but authorities say investigations have begun to establish the circumstances that led to the incident.
When power is being restored, it comes with some sort of force. Usually when it hits the appliances, it will definitely ignite. Therefore, we advise at this very moment, in general, not this season alone, anytime there is light out, please unplug whatever you are using, unplug them.
The fire command entreated the public to be fire safety conscious. The tragic incident has left residents of Ebuakwa Menchia traumatized, with many calling for heightened fire safety awareness and faster emergency response systems to avert future disasters. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Ebuakwa Menchia, Ashanti region.
Away from that now, the Ghana Prison Service has announced that from next year, it will roll out a series of policy initiatives, including mechanized agriculture, to improve conditions in prisons nationwide. The Director General, Patience Bafoboni, during a working visit to the Upper East region, said that the initiative will help the service better reform inmates. Castro Senyala has more in this report.
The working visit by the Director General of the Ghana Prisons Service to the Upper East region was to assess operations, engage with officers and inmates, and promote reforms focusing on welfare, rehabilitation, agriculture, arts, and professional conduct. Upon arrival, the Director General paid a visit to the overlord of the Navrongo traditional area, Navropio Pe Asakapari Aniakwa Balinia Ada II. Patience Bafoboni thanked the overlord for his support to the service and appealed for land for the prison service agriculture projects. The Director General said the prison service will continue to not only reform inmates, but train them to become useful to society.
We help them to acquire skills, and then in the long run, when they have to go back to society, question is, where do they start or where do they begin? Our strategy is to interface with the churches, traditional authorities, where some sort of collaboration can happen. When they are released, they find a safe place to live.
The Upper East Regional Command of the Ghana Prison Service undertakes agricultural activities to supplement the feeding of inmates. But lack of access to land has remained a huge challenge. Responding to the request for land, the Navropio assured of working with his council to secure a land for the prison service. The Director General later called on the management of the irrigation company of the Upper Region, ICO.
And ICO becomes a very key stakeholder because of the mechanized agric we want to do in the year 2026. Our agenda has prioritized agric, and it is in cropping or animal husbandry. And I know that you have a big stake in that.
Having one of the largest dams and an arable land size of 2,490 hectares, the ICO irrigation scheme accounts for a major percentage of food crop production in the country. The managing director of ICO, Dominic Anaragide, assured his outfit will partner with the Ghana Prison Service.
So if you are interested in doing cropping in addition to the aquaculture that's already in place, I think it's something that we'll be pleased to partner, because we are all government institutions and we must help government in the Feed Ghana agenda to ensure that there's food available.
Castro Sinyala, TV3 News, Navrongo.
Well, let's do other stories now. For parents, the operationalization of the 120-bed Weija Pediatric Hospital meant to provide specialized care for children will go a long way in improving children's welfare. Meanwhile, although the World Bank has withheld a $3.8 million intended for a component of the medical equipment for the hospital, the Ministry of Health says it will soon take over the facility. Sarah Penkro has filed this report.
The 120-bed Weija Pediatric Hospital is expected to significantly enhance child health care services once fully operational. The health facility is currently undergoing snagging and preparations underway for takeover and operation despite the funding challenges with some of the equipment raised by the World Bank, the funding agent.
The World Bank ran some assessments and then had some issues with the procurement of the equipment and has called for us to look into that further. But the contract with the contractor is intact because the contract was between the Ministry of Health and the contractor, the WACO. World Bank is saying that the amount of money spent on the equipment were too high, and that they are not going to continue payment until something is done about that. So I can assure you that the minister is currently handling that.
The contractor, Aweko Construction Limited, has clarified that its contractual relationship is strictly with the Ministry of Health and not the World Bank. In a statement, the company said it has not been officially informed of any termination or cancellation affecting the project. Aweko further stated that the Weija Pediatric Hospital project is completed and contrary to reports suggesting otherwise. The contractor says that all medical equipment under the contract has been fully supplied and installed, and that the only outstanding issue is payment due from the Ministry of Health. Meanwhile, the Member of Parliament for Wejagbawe, Jerry Ahmed Shaib, has raised concerns about delays in handing over and operationalizing the facility.
I was here about 4 or 5 weeks ago just to follow up. My expectation has been that we should have finished and handed it over for the good people of Wejagbawe and beyond to use. If you go in there, almost every equipment has been shipped in. That is why I believe that we should concentrate on finishing most of this project rather than just to be doing partisanship with everything. What is happening to us? I am worried that we always use politics to allow money to go down the drain. Assuming without admitting that there are any audit issues, does that stop you from commissioning it? You can commission and still prosecute your audit. And when you find that anybody is culpable of an issue, you can deal with it.
The Weija Pediatric Hospital, when completed, will provide dedicated pediatric services, including inpatient care, diagnostics, emergency services, and specialist treatment for children. Sarah Penkro, TV3 News, Accra.
You're still watching News 360 on TV3. We are back with sports, business, entertainment, and more. Stay with us.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Now, the Bank of Ghana has commended the Finance Ministry for overseeing the passage of an amendment bill for the central bank, indicating it will ensure the country no longer faces financial crisis. Ghana's Parliament on Thursday, December 18, approved amendments to the Bank of Ghana Act, imposing stricter limits on central bank financing of the government to safeguard its independence.
The Bank of Ghana Amendment Bill 2025 bars the central bank from buying government securities on the primary market and redefines emergency provisions that previously allowed officials to bypass a 5% lending cap tied to the prior year's revenues. Speaking at a listing ceremony by First Atlantic Bank at the Ghana Stock Exchange, Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama expressed optimism that this will forestall future crises, including the infamous Domestic Debt Exchange Program, DDEP.
I'm sure yesterday you heard about Parliament passing the amendment to the Bank of Ghana Act. Those new legislations, they will guarantee that we no longer go back to another DDEP. We no longer go back to the crisis that confronted us as a country yet again.
Meanwhile, Dr. Johnson Isiama has projected headline inflation to end the year 2025 hovering around 5%.
Inflation has declined to 6.3% as at the end of November 2025. We expect it to go further down towards 5% by the end of December. And this will be the lowest level in many years in Ghana.
The First Atlantic Bank's listing marks an end to the GSE's 7-year IPO drought, boosting investor confidence. Abena Moa is managing director of the exchange.
First Cal Bank with 900 million and now First Atlantic Bank with over 700 million. In the last 2 months, two companies have raised over 1.6 billion Ghana cedis. So the first myth that's broken is that there's no money in Ghana. There is money.
Meanwhile, the number of banks operating below Ghana's minimum capital adequacy ratio has fallen sharply, according to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Pandit Isiama, delivering remarks at the annual Bankers' Dinner in Accra. Dr. Isiama said that by November 2025, only 5 banks were below the prudential threshold, compared with 11 at the end of 2024.
Macroeconomic stability alone is never sufficient. The deeper work of 2025 laid in strengthening the resilience and integrity of the financial system itself. And that was the second strand of work we had to do. The banking sector entered the year still bearing the effects of the Domestic Debt Exchange Program, or what we know as the DDEP. Capital adequacy pressures were real, as at the end of 2024, 11 banks had recorded capital ratios that were below the prudential threshold. But by November this year, that number had reduced to 5, reflecting recapitalization efforts, supervisory engagement, and improving macro conditions. The expectation remains clear in all these. Remaining capital gaps have to be closed and buffers rebuilt.
The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, has unveiled its strategic roadmap for 2026, centering on the theme of transformation for impact and growth. Under this new mandate, the authority aims to pivot from aggressive enforcement towards a culture of voluntary compliance to meet the government's ambitious revenue goals.
The Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, took over 200 staff drawn from various units and departments of the authority through a 6-month intensive professional training program in taxation. The program was organized by its Domestic Tax Revenue Division in collaboration with the training department.
We are also investing in a number of our tools, and as you can also see from the budget that was read by the minister,
a number of operational tools that we are investing in to ensure that we invest in our people, we invest in technology, we invest in process, so that together we'll build a GRA that is fit for purpose today and for the future, and that also ensures that its mandate of revenue mobilization is done in a manner that's effective and efficient for our national development.
The acting Commissioner General, Anthony Kwesi Sapon, emphasized that the authority's success in 2026 will depend on its ability to build trust with the public.
In 2026, our ambition continues to be transforming for growth and impact, but focusing on compliance and particularly for voluntary compliance. So one will be focusing on tax education, we'll be focusing on ensuring that taxpayers know their taxes, they pay their taxes so that together we can raise the revenue for the future.
While compliance is the focus, the GRA is also leveraging technology to close revenue leakages.
And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Up next is sports. I'll bring you updates from the currency and the commodities market.
When you're going to buy a paint, don't look left.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. Ghana's Black Stars have wrapped up 2025 in 72nd position in the FIFA Men's World Rankings, according to the latest rankings released on Monday. The global ranking also sees Ghana positioned 14th on the African continent, with both standings remaining unchanged from the November rankings. The following 3 Sports report has more details.
The Black Stars have ended the year 2025 as 72nd on FIFA's world rankings and 14th in Africa. Now, that is a slight improvement from what they had last year in 2024, where they finished 77th. That was a very dark period for the Black Stars, as they missed out on the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. But this year, they have been quietly having a very, very good year, playing 10 matches, winning 6, drawing 1, and then losing 3. Of course, they did secure qualification to the 2026 World Cup. Now, that is their 5th qualification to a World Cup tournament. And so the Black Stars have finished the season on a particular high, and the hopes will be that in 2026, they improve on that as they battle in the USA, Canada, and Mexico.
Let's now proceed to game week 15 of the Ghana Premier League, which saw Aduana Stars and Accra Hearts of Oak play out an entertaining game, which, although it ended goalless at the Nana Ajiman Park in Doma. Now, here's a roundup of the action from various match venues compiled by my colleague Mutala Yakubu.
So match day 15 of the Ghana Premier League here at the Nana Ajiman Bedu Park. It was a beautiful spectacle. Aduana taking on Hearts of Oak. In 5 attempts, Hearts of Oak have not won or gotten any points here at the Nana Ajiman Bedu Park. But today was a good one for them as they started brightly creating all the big chances, with Martin Kakari having the best chance of the game. But Mason, Hearts of Oak took the game to Aduana and held on as the game ended goalless in the first half. After the recess, the Phobians continued with that same energy. Aduana made a number of substitutions but could not break the Phobians down as they snatched a point here at the Nana Ajiman Bedu Park. Good for Masudi Dramani, who thinks that his side deserved even to win this game. For Chioba Arisika and Aduana, he thinks that the 0-0 is a fair result. By the way, other matches played in a match day 15 of the Ghana Premier League. Dreams FC beating Brekum Chelsea by 3-1. Hoho United also losing at home, surprisingly, to Baby Gold Stars by 1-0. Then we had Karela beating Vision by 1-0. Nations FC won at home against Young Apostles by 1-0, with Samatex beating Heart of Lions by 1-0. But here, as you know, Aduana drawing with Heart of Oak.
Now, before we go, let's just bring you updates from the ongoing Africa Cup of Nations, and a game that just ended. That's the second game for today. So South Africa, for the first time in 21 years, win their opener at the Africa Cup of Nations, beating Angola by 2-1 earlier. We also saw Mali held to a 1-1 draw by Zambia. Ketsia late header from Patson Daka in that one. Much later tonight, there's Egypt versus Zimbabwe as well, which you can get updates on our social media handles at 3 Sports. GH, my name is Oreku Ampofo.
Well, good evening and welcome to the entertainment news segment here on News360. My name is Noella Donko. Now, Ghana's iconic Highlife music, a genre that embodies a century of rich cultural heritage, has officially begun its year-long celebration. Now, the 100 years of Highlife grand launch, powered by the Ghana Tourism Authority, marked the commencement of activities honoring the timeless musical tradition.
The launch brought together music lovers, industry stakeholders, and distinguished dignitaries to celebrate Highlife's immense contribution to Ghanaian culture and identity. Speaking at the event, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Tourism Authority highlighted the significant role Highlife music has played in the country's social and cultural development.
Each rhythm reflected how we felt as a people at a particular moment in time. From the era of independence, when Highlife became the soundtrack of freedom, to moments of social change, celebration, and reflection, Highlife has always been there, reminding us that no matter what we face, we move forward together. Highlife has carried Ghana's name beyond our borders, opening doors, sparking curiosity, and drawing people to our world.
She also paid tribute to Highlife legends for their selfless sacrifices, applauding them for using their voices to inspire change while spreading love and positivity through their music.
As we mark Highlife at 100, we honor those who gave us that gift. The pioneers, the trailblazers, and the voices that carried Ghana's soul across generations and across borders.
The president of the Musicians Union of Ghana emphasized the importance of passing the baton of Highlife music to the next generation. According to him, this is not merely the transfer of knowledge, but the preservation of a cherished heritage and identity for future generations.
I can see a lot of Highlife musicians. What they have done is they have taken the mantle. And what we are looking for is after us, the Gen Zs, to also take the mantle. It is very, very important we do that. If we don't do that, we have failed our ancestors. So, music, we are taking this serious. We're going to the schools, we're going to the younger generation to teach them Highlife guitars, how Highlife song is sung.
He further appealed to the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts to introduce special incentives for individuals, groups and organizations that have actively promoted Highlife music across the country. The 100 years of Highlife grand launch, powered by the Ghana Tourism Authority, marked the commencement of activities honoring this timeless musical tradition.
Well, that's it for the entertainment news segment here on News360. My name is Noella Donko.
Thank you for that entertainment. Let's bring you the latest on the international front. And Nigerian authorities say they have secured the release of the remaining 130 school children and teachers kidnapped from a Catholic boarding school in the country's central Niger State. Nigeria's federal government described the latest release as a moment of triumph and relief after one of the country's worst mass kidnappings. More than 250 children and staff were abducted from St. Mary's Catholic School in Papuri on 21st November. Earlier this month, about 100 of the children were released. The authorities confirmed the rescue of the remaining 130 children and staff in a statement, saying not a single pupil is left in captivity. Bishop Bulus Davuna Yokohama, who is in charge of the school as a Catholic cleric who heads the region, also confirmed the development.
And from Nigeria, let's swing to the United States of America, where U.S. President Donald Trump has sparked a fresh row with Denmark after appointing a special envoy to Greenland, the vast Arctic island he has said he would like to annex. Trump announced on Sunday that Jeff Landry the Republican governor of Louisiana would become the U.S.'s special envoy to Greenland, a semi-autonomous part of the Kingdom of Denmark. Governor Landry said in a post on X it was an honor to serve in a volunteer position to make Greenland a part of the U.S. The move has angered Copenhagen, which said it will call the U.S. ambassador for an explanation as to Greenland's prime minister, and who has also said that the island must decide its own future and its territorial integrity must be respected. We thank you for watching News 360 over the last hour. I am Martin Asiedudate.
And I am Grace Hamuajiman. Log on to 3news.com and get some more stories. Good evening.